And we are live here on the Monster Report Live. I'm your host, Nick Adam Pulling, and it is good to have you here live on Facebook and on YouTube. We want to make sure that you like, subscribe, and comment, hit that notification bell, all those great things that you hear all the YouTubers say. It supports this channel and keeps us going, and it's a favor to me to keep this energy rolling, and hopefully that the audio is coming through just fine, the video and all of that good stuff. I'm just double checking to make sure. So the Monster Report's a show that highlights entertaining creatures of film history. So of course the big monster would be Godzilla, and a lot of us here are big fans of Godzilla, and we just can't get enough of Godzilla content. And I'm a big fan of independent kaiju content creators, whether you're doing like what I do, where I make trailers and I do YouTube content and videos, a lot of different interviews. I like to bring in other content creators, whether they be YouTubers, bloggers, and I found a very unique one that I'm going to bring in today, and I'm really excited to bring in Daniel D. Mana, not Mana, of the Godzilla Novelization Project. Daniel, how you doing today?
I'm doing excellent, Nick. I'm really excited to have been asked to come on. I really appreciate it.
No, I was really impressed with the site and all of that. We're going to get into the Godzilla Novelization Project and what that means. And hopefully there's some people that are watching today that are interested in what this is all about, because it's very unique. There's a lot of people that can create art. They can create, like what I do, video production and all of that. By the way, our friend Godzilla Nerds, who was on my last live stream, Donald Guiley Jr., he is in the house. Glad to have you. And anyone else who would like to comment, we would be glad to hear your comments and ask some questions to Daniel. Would you like Daniel or Danny? I didn't know.
As long as you don't call me late for dinner. Anyway, bad joke. You can throw me off the stream now. Daniel, Danny, you pick. I'm gonna let you pick, because I honestly don't care.
Daniel's son? Okay, gotcha. Daniel's son. Okay. Well, so I ran across the Godzilla Novelization Project on Facebook, and one of the fun things was that you were kind of sharing some of the same content I was, in the sense that birthdays and anniversaries that are happening in kaiju history, and I'm a big fan of that, and celebrating not just the birthdays, but in some cases it's the death anniversary, because that's actually an important thing, especially in the Japanese culture. Why we had the Ifukube 100 concert at G-Fest years ago, where he would have been 100 that year. So it's as if he's still having his birthdays, anniversary years after their passing, but they leave a legacy. And so what I, kind of saw was, well, this guy's really, like I am, into not just the entertainment of it, but the academics as well. And bringing in just a different, cool little, I don't even know how to say it, but it is a cool little project that you've got going on. And I say little because I think that it can go really big from here. So would you tell us a little 30,000 overview of the Godzilla Novelization Project?
Absolutely. First of all, thank you for your kind words. I appreciate that a lot. Because it is kind of a hard project to encapsulate and really describe, because there's really, and I say this without any intention of tooting my own horn, there's really not a lot like this out there. As you mentioned before, there are people who draw just amazing artwork, and people who do painting and sculpture, and they write fan fiction, and they do unboxings, and they do what you do, where you make cool trailer edits and you review movies and all this cool stuff. And there's so much creativity in the kaiju fan base. It's ridiculous. It's insane how creative the people in this community are. And it's interesting to try to kind of find a niche within it. And I wanted to for a long time. And this project was something that was in the back of my mind for years. And I could talk a little bit more about that later, but in a nutshell, and this is the most compressed nutshell I can possibly create to describe this insane project. The GNP for short, if you prefer your acronyms, is an ongoing creative endeavor on my part. It's a one-man show to eventually and over time write Godzilla novel. It's pretty much what the title says. I intend to make complete novelizations in the English language for all the Japanese Godzilla films, because that's something that does not exist in America. That's just an entire aspect of appreciating the character, appreciating the films, appreciating the stories, the histories, that doesn't exist outside Japan. And even within Japan, not every Godzilla movie has a novelization. A lot of them have manga. A fair number of them have novelizations. It was just announced the other day that Toenjo is doing a novelization of Singular Point in Japan. So it is, stuff like that is happening, but it's not happening in English in any kind of official capacity. So see, that's something I always wanted to see. I've always been a big reader. I am a book addict. I love books. I love to read. I love a good story. I love academic books, but I love a good novel. And I really love film novelizations because they're an alternate peek into a story that you're familiar with. And you can put deleted scenes in there. You can get inside characters' heads in a way that a 2-hour movie or whatever the runtime is doesn't really allow. So converting a movie into prose is something that's always fascinated me, and that just isn't something that exists in the English speaking fandom for Godzilla. So I decided I would start doing it myself. And so I'm doing it myself. And it is, if I stop and think too long about how ambitious that idea is, I will probably, my brain will melt out of my ear holes, and I will and I'll run screaming in the other direction. But it operates on two principles. One, the don't sue me fan fiction principle, which is why I can do this at all, because I'm not charging money for it. And again, we'll get into that a little bit later. But the other principle is, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time, right? So, wise words, not so great for the elephant, but if you're somebody who's doing something like this, that's kind of how you have to think about it. But in a nutshell, again, compressed, it's exactly what the name implies. By the time I wrap this thing up, this is going to be years of my life. This is not going to be fast. It's not going to happen overnight or even within a few years. But my goal is to give every Japanese Godzilla film in English, a full-length, well-written, novel, English language novelization that can be read for free by any fan who would like to read them online. There you go.
Absolutely. In a nutshell, there we got, and in the chats, Don saying the creativity in the kaiju genre is very underrated. You definitely can find some awesome talent within the genre, and we have that so here. True. Yeah, we have the artists, the musicians, people who do the music is just absolutely incredible to me, especially that we've had a few live concerts of the music, and this is truly unique because I have not heard of anything even similar to this. And what's interesting is that you've taken what has been done in other genres. Like I know that there was the Star Wars films, and they novelized the Star Wars films after the films were released. They weren't based on the book originally. And so it's kind of, how would you say it? Would you call it in a sense a reverse engineering job, or how would you kind of describe when it started as a film, then went as a novel?
I would say that it's not, it's still an adaptation, but you're right, it's reversed. It's a novel. It is literally novelizing something that was not a novel to begin with. One of my biggest influences on this project was a book I read a bajillion years ago, and you might have heard of it. It's called King Kong. Now, King Kong is not based on a book. The original 1933 King Kong always will be a masterpiece. It is one of my favorite films. And I became fascinated by the film's novelization, which came out the same year the film did. It was written by Delos W. Lovelace, if I can stop tripping over myself. Yes, he was, if anybody out there has not read the King Kong novelization by Lovelace, I highly recommend it, because if you're into Kong lore like I am, the book has the spider pit sequence in it. It's got the deleted scenes from the movie. It's got alternate character interactions and extended dialogue. And I know the 33 Kong like the back of my hand. Like I know that film so well. And I became fascinated by this book because it was the story I knew, but there were little differences, little expansions. And that's been done with, I mean, you mentioned Star Wars. That's a great example. People like Alan Dean Foster have worked on a lot of film novelizations. His Alien stuff is great. He's actually responsible for writing the first extended universe Star Wars story, Splinter of the Mind's Eye, which
Okay.
was kind of the first sequel to Star Wars. It was before Empire came out. So there's an entire genre of books that fill in the gaps between movies, but there's also this huge, you know, insanely big, this huge collection of books out there that take the screenplays from the films and they take the ideas from the films and they basically distill it down into prose. And so it is kind of like reverse engineering a movie into a book as opposed to a book into a movie like Wizard of Oz or Harry Potter or you name it. So it's a fascinating thing because I love books, but I'm also a huge cinephile. I love movies. I love looking at movies from different perspectives and looking at them from ways that you might not necessarily be able to get while watching a movie. Again, you can, runtime being what it is, pacing being what it is. Sometimes that stuff just doesn't fit. And that's one of the reasons film novelizations fascinate me, is because I'm repeating myself at this point, but it's the same stories, but it's longer. There's more, there's extra context, there's deleted scenes, there's all kinds of interesting stuff. And it's a
And
great genre.
and that word you said there, context, is so important, because I know that some of the great film directors, they will always have a write-up of the character, the background of that character, if they're really doing their job well and they've worked with the actors to give them something that is going on in their head behind the scenes. It's like I could just bring an actor in and then they could read the lines and they come in there and they say, "You failed," and then
Yeah.
they go back to their context, their actual backstory, and they know the relationship between this character and why they went in there, why they had the facial expression they did, and then they deliver that line when they realize what kind of expectations my character has, and then they say, "You failed," and then it just works. All they had to do
Yeah.
was say those words, but that context was in the actor's mind running through it, and maybe even in some cases that context maybe translated into the novelization. I know that, like, go back to Star Wars again, the novelization of Rise of Skywalker. It was like, oh goodness, this just a couple of these snippets really would have improved that film.
Oh my gosh, yes, absolutely. Love your work and thanks for what you do, Chris, my man.
There's
What
our
is
fan,
up?
Chris.
There he is.
Yeah.
We were talking off stream about how much we love you, Chris.
Yes,
How awesome you are.
Chris is awesome. I'm glad you're in the chat there. We got Don. He's going to check out I'll check out the Godzilla Novelization Project, which is going to be on the bottom of the screen every time the chat's off of there. Riley Roberts read the King Kong novelization and owns it.
Yes. Hi, Riley. Riley's a big fan. I get a lot of yes, Riley's I know Riley. Riley's awesome.
Chris appreciates the little plug there. Great. And I'm glad
you've earned it, my friend.
I'm so glad to have, an active chat. This is great. And I'd love to, if anyone out there has some questions for Daniel here, and we'd love to hear him and see if you could pick his brain and maybe put him on the spot a little bit, just a little bit. It's always fun to see this guest squirm at some of these questions and, do the.
Is that the time? I gotta.
So I'll circle back and get back to you, right? So, and I actually remember even growing up as a kid, big fan of the Aliens movie, Aliens, that series. And I remember on a shelf once that there was a novelization of Aliens, and I'm like, okay, that's pretty cool because I love that movie, what it is, and it's just to see that it was novelized. I still need to actually get to the chance to get that book and read it and see what could they add to the story. I already love the story to begin with, so I'd like to see what else. And the same thing with Godzilla, and same thing with all of these kaiju films that we have. There is so much more that we desire, and so I feel like what the written form can do is do what we have in our mind. It's to put ourselves into that story. And when I read material like this, if it's not a graphic novel, put those aside because they do give us a visual, at least with a novelization anyways, is what I put together in my head is actually much more cinematic than
Mhm.
anything they could actually put on screen. And that's what I think is really great about what you're doing here. So Riley's asking if you're going to attend G-Fest this year.
I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna be
All
there.
right.
I'm actually gonna be running around like a crazy person during G Fest. I'm co-hosting eight panels this year. I don't know how I ended up doing that to myself, but it's gonna be fun. I got to make
Because
up
you
for
were
lost
willing.
time. Because
Because you
well,
were
that's
willing.
exactly why.
Yes, that's
They're like,
why.
hey, somebody want to come on the Hedorah panel? Oh, me, I like that movie. You anyone want to come on the King Kong versus Godzilla panel? Oh, I like that movie. It's not hard to get me to do these things.
And I'll
I'll
I'll plug All Monsters Attack convention, which is happening in September. I'll be at
I'm
that one.
I'm
Yeah.
really hoping I can go. I'm trying to save up to go. Uh,
hmm
I hope that
Yeah.
guest lineup. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
It will be epic if you're able to go. I'm in Indiana, so I'll definitely be there.
Oh,
It's just down the road.
you're right, basically right down the road. I'm in Ohio, so it's a bit of a longer trek for me, but not
Mhm.
that bad of a trek. It's
Yeah.
completely 3-4 hours. I could do it.
Okay. Yeah, I bet you could. Yeah. Don's asking the hypothetical: be a kaiju for a day. Who would you like to be?
Oh boy. Oh man. Well, welcome to the rest of the stream while I try to run all the statistics through my head. Well, number one is I have to be able to fly, so that'll narrow me down. I have to be able to fly. That's a given. Uh, Goodness. You know what? I'm gonna say Rodan. Because I could have said Mothra, but she gets killed a lot. So I don't know. It's and Mothra's my favorite, by the way. So it pains me to not pick her, but she is more flammable, I would say, than
Mm.
Rodan. So I'm gonna pick. I'm gonna yeah. I mean, who else flies? Everybody flies. Space Godzilla flies. I could have been Space Godzilla. I'm gonna go with Rodan. I'm gonna go with Rodan. He's cool. He doesn't get his butt kicked to death as much as other monsters, and he's Rodan and therefore awesome. And also, my name is in his name, Rodan.
Dan, yeah,
There
that's
you go.
true.
Yeah.
When you say that he flies, I mean, a kaiju that flies, you always get the trivia question though, right? Does Godzilla fly?
Oh well,
Absolutely, he does.
of course he does. I could have picked Godzilla. That thought crossed my mind. But Rodan, man. I mean, you can't go wrong with a little Rodan. Love that
Rodan,
guy.
Rodan is awesome,
Ooh.
and so when you took this project on, were you thinking of going along the lines of sequentially with the Godzilla novelizations, going from beginning to end, or were you going to kind of popcorn around?
My first idea was to do it sequentially, and then my plans got a little bit messed up, but not messed up in a bad way. So when I started the project, my initial plan was I'll start with the first one. I'll start with 1954. That's the one that I think most people would want to check out. I mean, it's the 1954 Godzilla. So there's already if I can get people interested in this project, they might click on it because of that film. B, if I can write that one and not mess it up, then I'll know I'm doing something right. And then I can go through I can go through the rest of the story. I can go through the rest of the films. I can do Raids Again, King Kong versus Godzilla, all the way up. So what ended up happening was I spent a month or two working on the original Godzilla, and I got two chapters in, and I got I got very depressed, um, because I mean I don't really have to explain how that's a very very dark, upsetting film, and I was doing research on because this is a very research heavy project. I know the films very well, but I study the films very carefully, and I mean, and that's something we can get into later, like vetting subtitles, translations, reading scripts, things like that. But one of the big things that I do is, again, a lot of this is just kind of in my head because I've been treating Godzilla as academia for most of my life, and I've been studying it and talking to people and researching things forever. But it never, there's still a lot that I don't know. So I was reading H-bomb survivor testimonies, and I was reading horrible nuclear / World War II stuff that was keeping me up at night. And I was like, I gotta stop this. I'm gonna drive myself crazy. Pardon me. But yeah, I had to stop. So I thought, okay, I still want to be productive, but I don't think I can write the. I just it's too dark. I have to do something more lighthearted. Godzilla's Revenge. So I sat down and wrote Godzilla's Revenge, Chapter 1, and then after that, I thought, okay, forget the order. I'm just whichever one I feel like I can put the best amount of creative energy into, that's the one I'll work on. So it's all serialized anyway. And then I thought, well, you know what? That's actually a really good thing because it helps me to not get too stuck on one that I feel like the writing suffers, or I write something depressing and I'm like, no, I need Small Monsters Attack. I need something fluffy and lighthearted for children to offset the horrors of nuclear devastation. But the other thing is that I thought, you know what, this is good because it gives the readers variety. Maybe somebody like me, maybe doesn't want to be in the headspace of the 54 Godzilla for too long. Maybe they have a favorite movie that isn't that one. So it puts variety on the website. It gives people an opportunity. Let's say somebody doesn't feel like reading 54. They can read Godzilla versus Gigan or Hedorah. They can read something from the Heisei series. They can read something from the Millennium series. I wanted to give the readers that variety. And it was also good for me on another level because it allowed me to tackle different writing genres. Because the original 54 film, my kind of angle on that is that I wanted to just stick obviously these are all sticking as close to the films as possible. I'm not inventing things. I'm not, or at least too much. Sometimes I'll put little connecting threads in that will kind of Marvel style, where I'll reference another movie, so that the books will feel a little bit more cohesive. But I don't invent things. I don't want to invent things because the movies are already perfect without some, doughy guy from Ohio touching the stories. They were already perfected by the people who made them, and I'm trying to honor them, and I don't want to reinvent them. So this series has covered so many different genres. It's crazy, right? So all of the different genres, and that bleeds into the writing. I'm not going to write 54 the same way I'm going to write Megalon. So it tests my ability to jump genres and styles in writing. I mean, the 54 film, like I said, I'm sticking close. It's kind of dark. I'm trying to write it so that it feels a little bit like it's happening in the moment, and it's very kind of like how it was shot like a documentary. I'm trying to honor that tone in the prose. But something like Godzilla Against Mechagodzilla 2002, a film that I adore, I'm actually using that film or the novelization of it as an excuse to write in from different character perspectives. Chapter 1 is from Akane's point of view, first person. And then the next chapter will be from another character's point of view, first person. And then it'll go back to her during key moments of the story. So all of the books will feel very eclectic style-wise, tone-wise, and genre-wise when you put them together when they're done, just like the movies do. So it helped me when I decided, okay, instead of just doing one, I'm going to experiment with all the other ones. Going in chronological order wouldn't have allowed me to do that. And it also would have meant, for the first few years, all you were going to get was 54 and, maybe a bit of Raids Again, maybe a little bit beyond that. But I wanted there to be variety. So it ended up being a happy accident. And I think it worked.
Yeah. And actually, Riley kind of asked a question going into how you're going forward. New film, when you begin a new film to pick for a novelization to begin, are you going to do a poll? And maybe that's an idea for you, for fans to pick or vote what the next one might be. Interesting.
I am probably going to do that. Several of the books that I started very early on, because I'm at a stage, I launched the project a little over 4 years ago. Getting close to 4.5 years. And during that time, I have started, I believe, unless I'm completely wrong, I had at least a dozen Godzilla movies have a chapter 1. And I stopped after that because I don't want to spread myself that's too thin. I think 12 is a good sampling of what I can do, or hope I do, as a writer, and testing out different genres and giving people a variety to read from. I think that that's a nice solid number. So I stopped starting new ones, but a couple of them, including Gigan and Mechagodzilla, against Mechagodzilla specifically, were fan polls on Twitter. I picked 4 films at random and I said, hey guys, which one do you want? And Gigan won, and then Mechagodzilla 2002 won. So when I when I eventually do start another one, I'll probably do a poll. I'll probably do a poll.
Yeah, so
I
be
think that makes
watching
sense.
out. Watching out
Yes.
for those, to
Yeah.
vote in those and get your pick in. But obviously, you want to check
Yes.
out the website to make sure.
Mhm.
And it's a funny thing, you were talking about how we don't necessarily have to have canon in these films. Star Wars getting a lot of trouble about that. Star Trek has done that too. And it's like the nice thing about Godzilla fans is we've thrown canon out a long time ago. It doesn't necessarily need to be canonical. I mean, there's a couple of them that reference other films, and we kind of get excited and giddy when we hear those references. But then that's all there is. That's all there is. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a reference. Like the Heisei books will by necessity have to be very closely linked because the films are very closely linked. I mean, that is a very tight continuity-wise tight 7 films. And so you can't really get away with making them too insular as books.
Yeah, absolutely. Our good friend Everett Grondin at Godzilla Fan Freaks on YouTube. He is in the house. Thank you, Everett, for chiming in, and look forward to talking to you again here. Favorite novelization you've worked on so far?
Donald's coming in with the hard questions here. I'm sweating right now. Let's see here. So far, favorite novels. Oh goodness, it's so hard to pick. Because that's the other aspect I haven't gotten into. And when we talk about the website here, I'll direct people to what I'm about to reference. But I don't just do novelizations. I've also done short stories on the websites. And if I'm including those, I have an answer but I'm gonna stick with novelizations because that's the question you asked. Oh my gosh, because now I got to think about it because there's 2 different answers to that. Which one do I like as a product thus far? Which one have I enjoyed writing the most? Oh man, favorite novelization worked on. I'm gonna pick Godzilla versus this answer might be completely different next week. It might be completely different, but as of right now, I'm gonna pick Hedorah, and I'm gonna pick Hedorah because it has been a delightful challenge working on that book. Because you want to talk about a movie that is married to its visuals. I mean, kaiju movies are intrinsically reliant on visuals anyway, because it's a giant monster story. I mean, we go to see these things because we like to see the guys in the suits and we like to see the miniatures and the characters, and it's a visual genre. But translating that into prose has its own set of challenges because I find myself sometimes relying too heavily on describing everything that's happening in a scene in a movie, and the book loses its character, and I realize you can't really do that. So there's a fine line between describing what's happening but also honoring the film and what the director wanted to do and what the visual effects are like in the film, but also making it coherent. But Hedorah is its own unique challenge because boy howdy, that film is, I mean, obviously it's a trippy masterpiece, right? I mean, it's got dancing skeletons and slime babies and random political cartoons and pulsating blobs, a guy tripping and seeing his friends with fish heads, a black and white scene. It's got a black and white scene in it. I mean, random old guys on the mountain. But such a strange film. How in the world do you coherently put that make that into a book? How do you do that?
Yeah.
I have really enjoyed doing it. I think 4 chapters in plus a prologue on that one. It's one of the longer ones on the site. It might be it is the longest one on the site so far because I have enjoyed the challenge of it. It has been there's been a lot of trial and error. I've gone back and looked at things and thought, but usually that's in stuff I haven't published. Like I don't publish something unless I'm happy with it, which is one of the reasons it sometimes takes a while to get these things out. That in personal life, you gotta juggle. Because what's more important, personal life or writing a Godzilla book? As much as I love writing the Godzilla books, You gotta, it's no competition.
That's
But
right.
that's right, no competition. But at the same time, my gosh, that book is it's so fun to look at a scene like the political cartoons and think, okay, how am I gonna do that? How am I gonna make that? How are you supposed to read a black and white scene? How are you
I
supposed to
know.
read that? I don't know the answer to that question, by the way. I do not know the answer yet. I have not gotten that far. I will have to address it
Yeah.
eventually, but I do not know. I do not have the answer to that, but I cannot wait to find out. So that's my
Yeah.
answer for now.
I love
For right now.
what you said. It's very visual in the sense that we're watching the kaiju. They're not talking, with the exception of Ghidra the three-headed monster there, where
That's right.
where the twin fairies speak for them, which I love
What
that scene.
language?
But it's like everything else is, we as kids were always watching it and putting the words into their mouths, and my
Mhm.
kids do that same thing. But now I'm also watching with my kids, and they're always saying, why is it that they did that? Why is it Godzilla did that? Why is it Rodan did that, or Mothra? And I'm like, just wait, watch. It'll get answered. Just wait, watch.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
then we watch Smog Monster. We watch Hedera, and then it's like, so why is there a cat? I don't know.
Yeah. It is
Why?
that's it's bizarre. But here's the thing about that film that because Hedorah is one of my favorite films on the planet, Godzilla or otherwise. I will defend it till my dying breath. But the thing is that I've heard that film. Yes, yes, Godzilla versus Hedorah for the win. But there's the thing that I think has been not so much now, because the film has been and is being, I think, reassessed in a very positive way. One of the criticisms I see for that film often, and have seen more in the past, is that it's a very random film. People call it a very random Godzilla film. Random slime cats, random slime babies,
Yeah.
random political cartoons, random black and white scene. But all of that stuff is in the film for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
It's like Yoshimitsu Banno knew what he was doing. He All of that stuff has some kind of, like, the through line. When I first realized this, because I watched this film when I was a kid. I think I first saw it when I was 8. I'm gonna say 7 or 8 years old, and it made no sense to me, but I adored it. And then as an adult watching it and thinking, okay, there's a reliance on fish imagery, because you have the fish tank and the dead fish in the water, and then the fish heads, and then there's a lot of close-ups on eyeballs. So what's going on with the what's going on with the symbolism there? What does that mean?
Mm-hmm.
Some of it I have no flipping clue. I mean, some of that stuff might have only made
Yeah.
sense to Bono-san,
Yes.
and nobody else. But it is regardless of what each of those scenes mean. I found a lot of answers for that film throughout the years of researching and getting cultural context, historical context. The old guys on the forest in the forest watching the party.
Mm-hmm.
That was like so random as a kid. Like, what are these people? There's a story behind who those people are. They're a sect in Japan that live in the mountain. So there's
Well,
an answer.
yeah, we kind of did get I don't know if they meant to say rat on old guys, but I'm guessing the old guys. So Brett Hominick, if you know Brett, he's got this
Mhm.
these great blogs. Yeah, we're above the yeah yeah. It's long, but talking about explain that they were peasant farmers and they were shown to
Mhm.
emphasize the generational gap. So yeah, there's been some research in on that, but it's like a novelization can fill in that gap, because if a lot of us are just we don't get into the blogs, we don't get into the research, but
Mhm.
I could read something like this on my tablet or my phone
Mhm.
before going
Yeah.
to bed or whatever, and that'd be fun if you could get it as an audible, just throwing that
Man,
idea out there.
I I have been asked, and I have no, like, okay. I want there to be Godzilla Novelization Project audiobooks in the worst way. In the
Hmm.
worst way. And it is going to happen. It's not going to happen for a while. I have to finish one of the darn things first. Uh, and I mean, I know people that want to. I've talked with people. I have a handful of people that said they want to narrate them. So
Mm.
I have narrators ready to go. One of them's a professional actor, and he's a friend of mine. And he said, I want to do the 54 film, and just recorded himself on his phone reading it. And I said, "You're hired.
Yeah.
One day." So it is gonna.
Nice.
But the thing is, I refuse to not pay these people. I have to compensate them, and I want it to be fair, and I want it to. I mean, if they're going to sit and read a whole book, uh I'm not just going to say, hey, you want to do this for free. I'm like, I'm not a monster. Like, even if they offer to do it for free, I'm not going to accept. Like, I'm going to compensate you. And that is entirely reliant on the one avenue that the GNP does have for earning money. Again, these books are completely free. They're online for free, just like fan fiction. Like I said, it operates on the fan fiction. It's not fan fiction. I wouldn't really define it as that, but it does operate on the fan fiction principle of, here is a story that I'm telling that uses these characters, and I'm not charging any money, and I'm being respectful of Toho because of course I am. I don't want to get sued. Obviously, I don't want to come home one day and find my mailbox stuffed with C&Ds, but I also genuinely respect Toho. So it's not just self-preservation. It's like, I respect these people. I respect the character. I respect the copyright. I'm not gonna, that's why these books are not in print form. They will never be in print form, as much as that kills me to say. I'd love them to be, even if I printed them at personal expense and gave them to people for free. I would love to do that, but it's a line I'm not willing to cross out of respect for Toho. But I have a Patreon, and that's how I do earn some money from this endeavor. And Patreon lets me get research material from Japan, which can get expensive. It helps me get like stuff like behind the scenes stuff, missing scenes, scripts, interesting stuff like that. It's going to allow me to continue to upgrade my tech and keep the website running. When I first started, I had the GNP is a WordPress site. It was a simple WordPress. It still is a simple WordPress site, but it was a free WordPress site when I started. But my patrons allowed me to buy the domain. So now it's not GodzillaNovelization.wordpress.com. It's just .com. So that's something patrons help me do. Patrons have helped me find accurate subtitled versions of films. Patrons have done all kinds of stuff. And they're going to help me eventually to make merch. That's the next big step, is I want to do t-shirts. I've had people say, where are the GNP t-shirts? Which is bizarre and flattering to me, that people want t-shirts of this thing, it's just so humbling. It really is. But that is coming. And then audiobooks is something that is going to be a Patreon goal. The more money I can earn from patrons, the more I can pay people to what they're owed to record audiobooks. And then I can give those to people for free. That'll be up online for free. I'm not going to charge for that. But yes, audiobooks. Where are you?
Yeah.
There you are.
And
audiobooks.
And I'm going to bring up the site so that everyone
is.
can check this out, because this is just beautiful. I love the graphic even that you've got going there.
Thank you.
Yeah. And you could read into just your introduction, bringing you in kind of like and you get a book, you get an introduction or a foreword from the author.
Yeah.
And
that's exactly what this is. Yeah. That's the intent.
Yeah. And then being able to jump right into the novels. And the best thing, like you said, beautifully, it's free. I can just click and I'm reading away, baby. And love that you can start right there, how we start the film with the Japanese character of Gojira. And that is just unbelievable to be able to get into this and just check out what you've got, all kinds of content. And is your Patreon linked?
It is. It's under the support tab. I should probably just change the name of that tab to Patreon to make it less confusing. But if you scroll all the way down, this is me basically gently pleading for money. But what can I? This entire paragraph, or series of paragraphs, is what I'll do with what I do with funds that I have from the Patreon. But yeah, if you click the link at the very bottom, the big white thing, it takes you right to Patreon. And there are three tiers. The lowest is $1 a month, and $1 a month gets you behind the scenes updates, and it also gives you access to a Patreon exclusive podcast that I host called Monster Musings. That is not available anywhere else. It's just for patrons. It provides project updates, random kaiju topics, just inspiration things. I give advice for people who are doing their own creative projects, because some of my patrons are writers and artists that are looking to try to share their stuff with the world. And I always say that, like, if I can do it, literally anybody on this planet can and should do it. Whatever you have to share with the world, Godzilla wise, whether it's a drawing you did or a fanfic you wrote or literally anything, please share it. Please share it with the world. The world wants to see it. I want to see it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love that stuff.
Yeah, Don likes your background. I think he
Hey,
means your video background. I was thinking maybe it was the site background. So,
that's what I thought at first too. But I think he's talking about these guys.
yeah.
Which
Kaiju figures your favorite, and then I'll get to Riley's
oh,
comment here.
you, Donald, I swear, I'm gonna. Yeah,
What do you
no,
pick? How do you?
these are all very good questions. I'm teasing. These are all very good questions, but they're very hard questions. It's hard to pick. My collection, I mean, it's okay. And I'm gonna try to okay. Behind me is just two. I think you can only really see like two or three shelves. Like, okay, one, two, three, kind of four shelves. That's just one shelf on one wall. I'm in the second bedroom of my apartment right now, and it is ceiling to floor, all four walls stacked to the ceiling with toys, with Godzilla toys. This is my kaiju cave. So I like this is just these are my Bandai figures, and it's hard to pick because I'm literally surrounded by hundreds of these things right now, and I'm trying to say this in a way that doesn't sound like bragging because I don't I don't want it to come across as bragging. Like, look at all these cool toys I have. But if I was gonna pick a favorite, it would probably be, I don't know if I can get him down. You know what? Actually, is he visible? No, he's not visible. Up on this shelf here, which is my Showa Bandai shelf, I have the Bandai Creation Gigan. And if people who are out there who collect, you'll probably, if I say that, you'll know what I'm talking about. It's a 6-inch vinyl Showa Gigan from Godzilla vs. Gigan. It was available in stores, in American stores, in 2001, 2002, and it was the first Japanese Godzilla anything that I owned. I had some stuff from the 98 film. I had a couple of the Heisei movies and one or two Showa films on VHS, still have those. But I had to basically pretend when I was a kid, I had to cherry pick and say, okay, this generic dinosaur toy is my Godzilla. This generic butterfly toy is my Mothra, because I just didn't, those things just weren't in my sphere as toys at the time. And I'm a big believer in, I mean, obviously, like, I like to surround myself in with my favorite characters and my passions. And I found this Gigan, and it was like a revelation. So yeah, it's it's $12. It's not, it was not expensive, but it's a very significant toy to me because it was the first time I got to hold this character in my hand and turn him around and see how it looked. So that's my answer.
Yep,
Chris knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah, Chris does. I want
It's a simple little toy, but
yeah.
it means a lot to me.
Riley has been very patient. I appreciate it, Riley, from about half an hour ago. Sorry about that.
Oh, no.
Trying to maybe push you towards the way of Return of Godzilla in celebration of Kaiju. Maybe to begin it by November of 2023. That would be that gives you some time.
It does give me some time. Yeah, Riley. Riley knows that I like to start. So if I do a new chapter, or sometimes like back when I was, pardon me, starting new books, I would time them for anniversaries, and I would time them for actor birthdays and passings and things like that. Like if like this is like, if one of the things that I really am genuinely proud of with the GNP, it's not even like a huge thing. It's a very small thing, but I hope it means something. Is that a lot of the books are dedicated to the people who worked on the films that have since passed. The original Godzilla, for example, is dedicated to pretty much everyone you could think of from that film, from Tanaka down to Nakajima. And a few months ago, I had the emotionally devastating and unpleasant task of adding Akira Takarada's name to my dedication for that film. I'm still not over that. It really destroyed me. That was a sad moment. It's literally just getting into WordPress and typing a couple of letters, but it's very simple. But it's something that I hope kind of keeps those names preserved in a way. I mean, it's a very small, like I said, it's not a huge thing. It's a very small little thing that I've done, but I'd like to think, like, my idea in my head is that I'd like to think that if I showed these books to the people who worked on these films, then they may not love them, but they'd at least appreciate that somebody was doing it. That kind of thing. I'm not going to say, oh, I hope that they'd love my book. Who knows? But maybe that they just appreciate it. And So that's something that I've done. And Keiju Kobayashi, for anyone listening who who might not know who that is, ooh man, the Prime Minister from Return of Godzilla. Uh, what an amazing actor! He was also in Submersion of Japan, which is a great film that desperately needs a U.S. release. But he would be a great Riley, to answer your question. He would be a great person to honor. So again, it's a bit of a ways away. I got some time to prepare. We'll see.
Mm-hmm.
I'll see what I can do.
Yeah, absolutely. And just get a couple more in here. Godzilla fan freaks. He's he's fanboying out over your kaiju cave. So yeah, everyone's special in their own way. Yeah, we all have them. I'm still building my new one.
Nice.
We do have Tanya has a lot of questions for the chat and doesn't mean to overshadow people. Tanya, go right ahead and ask your questions. And if
Yeah, absolutely.
we typically go an hour in these, but if we got some active chats going on, I don't know, Daniel, are you free for another couple of minutes after the hour's passed? If
Yeah,
you want to stick around,
absolutely. Yeah, if
yeah.
there are questions, please ask away. I'll answer whatever I can. Absolutely.
Yeah, we appreciate that actually, and
Mhm.
I think that you know, hopefully in not just the show, in other ways that we can maybe point some more people to find out about what you're doing to support it. And if there is support there, just like what I do for my show, if I see that there's support there, not necessarily monetary, just the views, just the view counts,
Mhm.
the likes, the interactions, drives us to do more with our projects, which is great. And I just
Mm.
I think it's great to see these content creators. I'd like to point them out. I'd like to get shine a little light on them and get a little bit more audience, my audience to your audience. And it's just a great thing to have. Riley, do you plan on posting any chapters for Christmas, Halloween, or Thanksgiving? Something maybe
Ooh.
special for those?
I usually do something spooky on Halloween. So I would expect something on Halloween. I'm not sure what I'll do. In the past, I started a short story adaptation of Rodan for Halloween because I've always thought that was a creepy movie with the bugs and the creepy mine, and it's spooky.
Mhm.
So I did that. I also started, and it's still not done because I keep extending it out. But I did start a short story version of Matango on Halloween
Oh
in the
wow, yeah.
past. So yes, which is one of my favorites, and I have it in the back of my head that I'd like to do something with Frankenstein Conquers the World for an upcoming Halloween. I don't know if it'll be this Halloween, but Frankenstein Halloween, I mean, it works. Uh, Christmas, hopefully. Christmas for me, or at least Christmas. Yeah, Christmas for me is a big family time. So I don't take I mean my time is dedicated to being with my family during that time. So I've done it in the past where I've done Christmas or Christmas Eve chapter drops just as a gift to people so that they have something to maybe read after a family get together. I've done that in the past. Last year I don't believe I did because it was a long weekend of family time. And this year I make no promises, but I'd like to. Thanksgiving, I don't know if I've ever done a Thanksgiving drop for a chapter. If you have a suggestion for something that fits with Thanksgiving, that would
Mhm.
be a good short story or a good chapter. And if you say the giant claw, I will agree with you, but I probably won't write it. Trust me, I'd love to. Hey, I would love to novelize the giant claw, but I got 30 plus Godzillas to do first. Then we'll talk giant claw.
Yeah.
It's the-
Wow. And it's funny doing something for American holidays from Japanese IP is like, well, there's just not really that connection. There's no holiday
Mhm.
connection, but we do kind of find ourselves. I don't know if you do during certain holidays that you kind of pick your favorite ones to
Mm.
watch during those times. I don't know why. New Year's, for some reason, to me, it's Destroy All Monsters. I don't know why. There's no reason.
You
It's
know what's
just
weird is I somehow knew you were going to say destroy all monsters, and I don't know how I knew you were going to
yeah,
say that, but weirdly it almost feels right, and I cannot tell you why, but I think you're
yeah.
onto something.
There is something there, something in our subconscious that tells us that that's the one to watch. I also love Son of Godzilla in the hottest days of summer
Yes, I do that
because
too.
Yes, because as hot as it gets here, that island was melting from the rain itself. So I'm like
that
watching
one
it
and
with my kids. Yeah.
that one and Sea Monster are both very good summer movies.
Yes. Yeah,
They're great, which is
absolutely.
funny because they were released in the winter in Japan in 66 and 67. But they were yeah, they're very very fun. I actually many years ago, and when I say many, I mean I'm pretty sure I was in high school. I caught Son of Godzilla playing on TV, the dub version playing on TV. Couldn't tell you what channel while I was on summer vacation. I was at a family reunion somewhere near a beach, and it was hot. And that movie came on, and I thought I could go hang out with my family, or I can watch other people be hot and miserable outside, and there's a monster. So
Mm-hmm.
I gave up and went out with my family, but whatever, it's fine.
We'll get back to the chat here in a second because we've still got questions coming in. But I have I always ask my guests kind of where did it start for you? What's your kaiju history or upbringing? Did it start in childhood? What was it that triggered the kaiju fan in you?
For me, it was a fateful trip to a friend's house when I was 6 years old in circa 1999. I'm kind of a baby the more I think about it. I'm not that old. I'm 29, so I'm not that old. But I feel it some days.
Who are you calling old?
Literally no one. I literally no. What I meant was no. I feel it some days, but no, I'm not an old. I'm not old. I don't know any old people. Especially not myself because I'm not old. But when I was 6, I went to a friend's house circa 1999, and he had Godzilla 2000 at his house. And Godzilla 2000, he had a basement that was set up with a projector and a big screen. And he said, "Hey, we're going to watch a Godzilla movie today." And I'd been wanting to see one since the 98 film had come out. I hadn't seen that one, but it was circa 98, 99. The name Godzilla was just so much in the zeitgeist because of that film, whether you hate it or really hate it. That film was very, very much responsible for I mean, I do not really I do not hate the 98 film. I know that's sacrilegious, but I've never had a beef with it. I don't know. But I hadn't seen it at that point. 98 or 99 rolls around, and I go see Godzilla 2000, which was brand new at the time in my friend's basement. It might have been 2000. No, the movie didn't come out in the States till 2000. So it was 2000. My jaw violently detached itself from my skull and drilled straight down to the ground. I'd never seen anything that cool before in my life. That opening attack where Godzilla is silhouetted by the fire behind him, and he's just this huge thing. And it is so Godzilla to me. That scene, that moment where he's standing over the city and the music swells is just, and he roars, is just, when I think Godzilla, that's the first thing I think to this day. So the sad part of the story is I got 2/3 of the way through the film and I had to leave because my ride for the day, aka father, had to leave, and he had something to do, and he had to take me. So I didn't get to see the end, and I went home and I regaled my long-suffering mother with tales of this amazing dinosaur that breathed fire that I had seen in this movie. And I probably didn't shut up about it for who knows how long. And this is one of my favorite stories. She puts her hand on my shoulder and says, "Dan, there's a lot more of these." What? Yeah, mind explosion. So a day or two later, she throws me and my younger brother into the car, and we drove to our local library. The library was my video store growing up. A lot of people have great video store memories. I do too, but my video store, quote unquote, was my local library because it was just piled with tapes. And they had a Godzilla section, not a whole lot of movies in there, maybe 4 or 5 at the time. And she said, "Pick one out." And then she told my brother to pick one out. And I flipped through them, and I ended up finding this tape, and it's like, he's fighting this bug. What is this? This looks amazing. What's Mothra? Mothra versus Godzilla 64 becomes my first full Godzilla movie I saw from beginning to end. And my brother picked Monster Zero. So I started out with two very solid films.
Yes, he
Mr.
did.
Nick Adam.
That's right, Mr. Nick Adam.
If that is your, I know it's your real name. I know it's your real name. I'm just teasing.
First
But,
and middle.
yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
But yeah, after that it was pretty much all downhill. I mean uphill from there. And I mean, there it is. I started collecting the movies on tape whenever I could. I rented the ones that I couldn't find. I taped them off of Sci-Fi Channel marathons. I watched my my younger brother and my friends around me slowly age out of it. Age, whatever that means, age out of it. They had other interests, they moved on, but it always stuck with me. It was very crucial in my life for a lot of it because it really helped, like, my love for these films and an outlet for researching them eventually really helped me a lot when I was have hit a couple of emotional speed bumps in my teenage years. The movies were really there for me. And after that, it was really just a steady build up. By the time I was, I don't know, probably 15, 16, I had all the movies on whatever format, DVD, Blu-ray, or tape that I could possibly get. I had a copy of every single one. And around probably, I don't know, 15 or 16 years old, I discovered eBay. Which is where a lot of my friends back here come from all those years ago. But yeah, it just continued to build. I mean, I started out with a pile of tapes I carried around in a duffel bag on vacations and 2 or 3 toys. And now it's my home decor is Godzilla. The cool thing about it is that still to this day, I can put in Godzilla 2000 or Mothra versus Godzilla or Monster Zero, any of the movies that I watched on loop as a child. Godzilla versus King Ghidorah, still one of my favorites from '91. Hedorah, I taped that off the Sci-Fi Channel. Mechagodzilla 74, like all of those. And I'm instantly in the same mind space that I was in when I watched them. I cannot not watch Godzilla 2000 as a 6-year-old. The 6-year-old part of me that was in awe of that film takes control whenever I watch it. And I forget that I've seen it a million times. And I forget that it's been 20 plus years since I watched it for the first time. And it transports me back. And that has come in handy because life being what it is, sometimes you just need to put Godzilla 2000 in your TV and sit back, So, yeah. As cheesy as it is to say, this fictional character that I have surrounded myself in has really been there for me in a lot of ways. And I really value that. So kind of the GNP in a lot of ways is my own humble attempt to kind of give back to it and contribute to it. Now, and I'm not like the GNP is not an official project by any stretch. Toho probably doesn't know I exist. Maybe that's for the best because of the aforementioned C&Ds. But in my own way, like, this is not an official thing at all. This is just something that a fan is doing because he's obsessed with this stuff. But in my own way, I treat it on a creative level as me kind of saying thank you to this thing that continues to enrich and fulfill my life in amazing ways. And I mean, it's just a small part of who I am. I mean, I do not define myself based on my love of this franchise. I define myself by who I am and, my family that I love dearly and the really, truly important things. But, Godzilla does not define me. I am not my passion, but I obviously love it to death and I'd have it no other way.
Right, exactly. It is a part of our life. It is not our life. It is part of it. And I think, and I always find it fascinating to hear where everyone's starting point was, because if their starting point, was like, for me, it was all Showa, because growing up in the 80s and early 90s, it was all Showa. That's all we had.
That's all that existed.
Yeah, that's all that existed until we started getting the Heisei releases. We knew that they were being made over there, but we didn't have them over here in the States. So it was like we just had to guess at what was going on. And then when we got the 98 film, it was like, okay, well, let's start getting that over here,
Come on, bring it over.
Merchandising. So
merchandising.
Like, yes. It's like, yes, it's Godzilla the cereal box.
Godzilla the flamethrower.
Still waiting on that. Still waiting on that.
I'm still waiting on the Godzilla. I do. Hang on. This is funny. get it since we're talking about toys and props. I do have this Godzilla squirt gun.
Oh, cool.
Yes, I have this Godzilla. It was just nearby. I'm near a lot of weird things, but yes, I do have a Godzilla squeaky squirt gun. I'm packing heat. Don't mess with me.
Gotcha.
I will squirt water in your general direction with my.
Right.
I don't know.
My kids think it's hilarious that the fire extinguisher effect of the early Godzilla flame breath. It's like,
Yeah.
well, that doesn't cause fire. That puts out fire. What is he doing? And it's like, it's an effect. It is what it is. They didn't know.
Guys, come on.
Yeah. It's like enjoy the film.
Yes.
Yes. That's because that's what I'm doing. We'll get Riley's question in here about post chapters on August 11th this year for King Kong versus Godzilla's 60th anniversary. That's excellent. That's this year.
That is something that is on my list. Again, I can't make any promises, unfortunately, just because I don't know what my this year has been weird because I started a new, like, outside of like my little Godzilla sphere. I did start a new job, so I have a lot of new normal stuff that I'm navigating, and that's kind of interrupted my writing workflow, my personal writing workflow. So I've missed a couple of anniversaries that I normally would have posted something for. I'm hoping that by August that will have kind of evened out a little bit. I'm going to be doing something for King Kong. Excuse me, King Kong versus Godzilla's 60th. I have to. It's a big number, and I love that movie.
Yeah, and all these anniversaries. That's why what I do. I've got my whole calendar full of these dates, and I think if you're you subscribe to G Fan magazine, there must be a calendar out there. I've taken what they've had in there and added to it with non-Godzilla kaiju stuff, or Gorgo, even your Yongari and some of the other non-Godzilla periphery kind of creatures, and King Kong, obviously our American monster, and other monsters that we can get in there to get these anniversaries, because it's relevance. It's also giving some honor to why I called my channel what I did. The Monster Report is a show highlighting those entertaining creatures of film history. So it's all we're all going back, to and creating toys for movies that were coming out in the 70s. Okay, and it's like we're making new toys for, and we're paying truckloads of money for something that came out in the 50s, 60s, 70s and all this. And it's like, but it's still selling, because every time I go to a toy store, you're the same way. I can't keep the Godzilla stuff on the shelf. So that's why we gotta order it, because it's flying off the shelf. But it's like, there's such a love for the nostalgia of this. Obviously, there's other IP that the nostalgia factor is in there. Some new generation, their starting point is the legendary films, and that's great. I hope that they, grow beyond that and then get into some of the Heisei Showa Millennium Japanese films, seeing Shin Godzilla, seeing Shin Ultraman, getting into that side of the kaiju universe that we have. And I think that's it just adds to what we already love, and we're like, add to the fandom. I think it's great, and talking to fans about their experiences. Last one from Riley here. We're gonna close up here. When can we expect new chapters for King Kong versus Godzilla, Mothra versus Godzilla, Godzilla versus Megalon, Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla, Godzilla versus Space Godzilla, GMK? Goodness, Riley,
that's the whole roster there. That's all of them. I don't know if I have specific answers for all of those. I'm gonna tentatively say some anniversaries. Like, I would watch out for anniversaries. Those are the big ones. King Kong versus Godzilla's got an anniversary coming up. I can't miss that. I got to do something. I've been asked frequently about Against Mechagodzilla and GMK. Because GMK is literally just a chapter 1 right now, and I haven't touched it in forever because I've been bouncing around. But that one needs more. It's I wish I had specific dates to give you, but they are coming. I promise they're coming. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I'll ask one of the final questions, and we'll give you the chance to plug away at things. But we got to take care of the elephant in the room. I should have done this earlier, but Daniel, Angulus or Anguirius?
Is there an option C for neither? Because of course, no. Listen, the answer is Anguilius. All right, come on, it's Anguilius. We all know it's Anguilius.
Or
because he said it. And no, the correct answer is Anzilla.
Anzilla. Okay.
Anzilla, because that's what the Crestwood House book taught me as a kid. It's
I
Anzilla.
gotcha. And the
Yes.
female Godzilla named Gigantus, right? The
That's
crest from the Crestwood book. Yes, I
I
remember that.
I cannot tell you how many times I rented that book as a kid. My goodness. I mean, it has to be Anzilla. It has to be. Has
Okay.
to.
Riley would like you to chat with her afterwards after we get off the stream here. So there you go. I'm passing
Yep.
along the word. Okay. So,
More
anyways,
questions, I guess. Yeah.
I know. Yes. Plug away social sites, the website, the Patreon, everything in case they didn't hear it earlier in our stream. Where can they find you? How can they support you?
All right, here we go. Obviously the most important one of the bunch is Godzilla Novelization Project.com. That is where you will find the meat and potatoes of the project. That's where the books are archived. That's where all the updates go out. The first thing you'll see when you click on the website, if you Google it, it's one of the top results you'll get. If you click on it, you'll see an update log, and you'll see the most recent updates going down in order. So whatever's the most recent thing, that'll be right at the top, and all the pertinent links. But the website is home to the books. Like I mentioned before, it's also home to the short stories and novellas, which is a whole other crazy thing. But if you want to read stuff like the Godzilla King of the Monsters 56, told from the first person perspective entirely of Mr. Martin, Mr. Steve Martin. There's a short story about that. There's a retelling of Rodan. There's all kinds of stuff. So go explore. There's a lot to explore. You'll also find an ongoing series of behind the scenes blogs. You'll also find the Godzilla timelines, which is another side project within that project. That's a whole other can of worms. That's very time consuming, and I love doing. There's obviously the support tab, which will take you to the Patreon page, and like I mentioned before, there's the lowest tier is $1 a month, and you'd be surprised how it's not a lot, but like you'd be surprised how far a buck a month goes. And there's also a $5 tier that gets you early access to whatever I write, 24-hour early access. If you really like what you see and you want to throw me $10 a month, which is crazy, but if you're that kind of crazy, and I mean that in the nicest way possible, I will put your name in one of the books as a character. Like I will canonize your name, quote unquote, canonize your name as a character. Will you get stepped on? Will you get to will you get to talk to Nick Adams? Will you get to it doesn't something. I don't know. I'll put your name, maybe you'll be a casualty on a TV. I don't know, but I'll put your name in a book.
I would be honored to be stepped on, sir. Yes.
Yes.
Money well spent.
Money well spent, and it'll be in there. And I have a couple of people that are surprised. I think I have 2 or 3 people that were at that tier, which is crazy to me that people actually did that. But yeah, people wanted it. So that's there. Like I said before, Patreon is super helpful for research. It also lets me take extra time off of, in my own free time away from my job. Like maybe if I get enough money, I can take a half day at my job and I can use that money to basically add to what I live on and spend that time writing instead. That's something. It's also going to go toward paying for the audiobooks I mentioned before, and translators for material that I cannot translate myself for whatever reason. That's a big thing with Patreon. So that's one thing. If you'd like to follow along with the project's updates and stay up to date on what I'm doing, and maybe enjoy some behind the scenes photos, like you mentioned before, I often share celebrations of people's birthdays, film anniversaries, the amazing people who've made these films that have passed on, stuff like that. I do that fairly regularly. Also, bad puns. A lot of bad puns, just silliness, because my entire thing is having fun and spreading positivity. You won't get any like overly like negative stuff on any of these. And I mean, there's a difference between like being critical and being negative. What I'm saying is I'm not gonna be a negative Nelly on these pages. So if you like, if you want to follow along with the project, and B, if you want delightfully, or at least I try to make it entertaining and as delightful as I can, like silly Godzilla stuff and academia, fun facts, things like that. And you're on Twitter, check me out on Twitter. I'm Danzilla93_GNP there. You can just type in Godzilla Novelization Project and you'll find it. Also, there's a Facebook page, which you mentioned before. That's up there. And if you have more to say, like extra questions, if you want to, this has actually been a really, really cool thing because it's allowed people to send me links to their own work that they'd like me to look at, which is really special to me. I have an email, Godzilla Novelization Project at gmail.com. I apologize. gnp@gmail.com was taken. So you're gonna have to do some extra. You have to do some extra typing. Yeah. I apologize, but but if you have like extra long questions, you just want to chat about, like, tell me what your favorite Godzilla movie is, send me an email. If you want to have a longer discussion or ask questions, or again, if you have like a link to DeviantArt, like I've had people who've reached out to me on there that have sent me their fan fictions and their novels to review and talk about, which I have done, and I just find that so humbling that anybody would want my opinion on something that they've worked on. It's really just like I don't even know what to say about that. It's so special. And if that's something you're interested in, I'm happy to give you feedback and criticism, and do some constructive criticism with you and give you advice. As I'm no expert. I mean, I don't consider myself an expert on anything in this world, but if I can help in any way, or be somebody to talk to, especially if you're a new fan, it can be sometimes a little intimidating to talk to other people who like this stuff, because there are buttholes out there that are not nice to new fans. I am a nice, I'm a safe person to chat with if you'd like somebody to chat with. So I put my name out there for that reason. But that's about all GNP wise. If you're interested in other weird kaiju stuff I do, I'm on podcasts all the time. I've been on Kaiju Kim's show. I love Kaiju Kim so much. She's great. I've been on a lot of different kaiju podcasts. I've done voice acting on kaiju podcasts. I've done academic interviews and stuff on kaiju podcasts. I write regularly for Kaiju Ramen Magazine and Kaiju Ramen Media. I write for GFan. I'm kind of everywhere just because I can't not celebrate this stuff. So yeah, I'm not a hard person to find online. So yeah, if you want to follow along, and if you like what you read, I always ask that, if you know somebody who might get a kick out of it, share it with someone, because it's, maybe it'll brighten their day. I don't know. If I can be a small part of brightening a day, then I'm done. Like, story's over. I've accomplished what I've wanted, and again, this is all coming from a place of, like, the people who made these movies did the hard work. I'm just participating in the act of loving it and spreading the joy. So yeah, that's
absolutely.
I'm out of things to say.
Oh, well, and I knew bringing you on here that this was not going to be a tough episode to fill, the content, right, and be entertaining, and that we could probably go on for hours and hours and hours, but we're going to tie things up, because we'll have to have you back again for any updates that are happening with GNP.
Absolutely.
And get some more questions and reactions from fans that are out there. And I think that's great. And you've been a great guest today. Very generous with your time, and stick around a few minutes after we end the broadcast here. But I want everyone encouraged to check out Godzilla Novelization Project and follow him on Facebook, Twitter, and subscribe on the Patreon, and promote and help out where you can, and just chat with him, because he's an open book, as it were, and it's free to read the Godzilla Novelization Project. And how can it get much better than that? Is just go online and start reading away, and be excited for the next chapters that are coming out. Just like Riley in the chat was just like, that's right, chomping at the bit for the next best thing that's coming out. So
very excited.
Yes. Thank you so much, Daniel, for your time. And we will catch you guys all next time on another episode of the Monster Report Live. And like, subscribe, comment, all of those great things on YouTube. We're up to 88,000 subscribers at the time of this broadcast. So thank you so much. Here's to 100K. We'll get there at some point here. So thank you so much for your support. And that's why I want to support any other kaiju content creators that are out there. And we will catch you guys next time on another episode of Monster Report. Thank you so much, and have a blessed evening.